Hi everybody, Kirsty, Goddess of Neptune here. I hope you're doing well. I'm here to talk about the new moon in Virgo, which is coming up on the 14th or 15th of September, wherever you are in the world. For those of us in the UK, it will be Friday, the 15th of September at 2:39 a.m. So of course, apply your own time zones as appropriate. And for this new moon in Virgo, we know we're in Virgo season at the moment, but this is a new moon. So it's a new lunar cycle, and new moons allow us that energy to support us in our manifestations because we're manifesting a new beginning. Okay. Now, Virgo energy is very much, yes, wanting to feel in control of things in terms of our reality. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But because of the healing journey and the transformation journey that we've been on for a time, we might be feeling, because we're detaching from certain stuff or having to, that might have been illuminated to us from previous full moons, that can be uncomfortable. So we may not feel in control. And with a new moon, we've not only got the moon there in Virgo, we've of course got the sun in Virgo because we are in Virgo season. So they're both at the same degrees. They will both be at 21 degrees, 21, 21. And there's something quite interesting about that I'll mention in a bit. But if you look at the number 21, if you're into angel numbers, of course, 21 reduces to a 3. So we'll have 21, 21 side by side. You'll see it in the chart, which is 3, 3. So very powerful manifestation. So we can really allow ourselves to be in control of our own reality, not to control too much that we're not surrendering to the divine at the same time, to allow things to flow to us. But in terms of what we want for our reality, we can feel in control of that if we're following our alignment. And if we're following what is that sacred flame energy, what sparks that flame within. And also in terms of the recent, Venus retrograde, and Venus is now direct, what's that taught us about our investments? Where are we investing our resources, our time, energy, money, love, etc., into things, people, situations, whatever it might be? We're having to sort of take stock during these retrogrades. And that is the purpose of a retrograde, to take stock, to review, to reflect, to reassess, and then to renew. So a new moon, perfect opportunity to actually allow that to come to fruition. So we can feel in control of that, but we might just need to accept what's coming up that forces that change within us, okay, but in a good way, in a positive way. Now, I'm recording this from the UK, of course, and it's actually quite warm. So I don't want to moan about the heat because it's lovely to have that. And we're blessed to be having this in September. But it is quite warm. So apologies. And of course, behind me, the light is just glaring through the window. I'm in a different space today, so you'll have to bear with me on that one as well. Okay. So let's jump into the chart and I'll show you what I was drawn to. And I'm going to go straight to the chart that shows us the transits against the UK's natal chart. So it's to give that context, okay, straight away. Of the house system. So here we have it. Okay, lots of colors on the chart here, and you'll have to forgive my drawing of the triangles, which are representing the trines that are in the center, because of course, when I put the charts together, there's limited space in the middle to actually do that to perfection. So my own OCD is actually tripping on that one a little bit. And I've got some Virgo in my chart, so I don't particularly feel in control of those triangles. And it's a bit frustrating, but there we go. Let it go, Kirsty. So we can see here, okay, the new moon in Virgo, as I mentioned, for us in the UK, it's the 15th of September, 2:39 a.m. And the inner chart is the UK's natal chart. The outer chart are the transits of the new moon at that time. So that's when the new moon comes into play. And we've got the moon down here with the sun, 21, 21, as I mentioned. Okay. So I'm showing it you straight away with the UK's natal chart because it shows you the house system. And this is what can be applied when we look at our own natal charts against the transits, because it can provide some insight into what the planetary energies might be doing and how they might be influencing us. Okay. So this new moon is happening in the 3rd house for the UK. So that's all about communication and expression. It can also represent travel as well. But as I've mentioned before, because Mercury is still currently in retrograde and will still be at this time, but not for much longer, and I'll come on to that, that's all happening in the house of communication, and Mercury is very much about that as well. And I've mentioned in a previous report that Mercury being in Virgo in retrograde, you know, allowing us to actually have that truth talk with ourselves. So we're communicating to ourselves about the reality that we do want to manifest, and also about what needs to be cleaned up in order for us to manifest the reality that we desire. We can't hold on to the old that's not serving us if we're wanting to manifest in the new. Okay. And that can be quite difficult because it means we have to detach from things. So we need to have that truth talk with ourselves. Sun and moon are in the third house still. Okay. They're edging towards, you know, the cusp where it then becomes into the fourth house. But at the time of this new moon, third house, communication and expression. So it's still heightening the energy of us being real with ourselves. Okay. And there's quite a few things going on that I was drawn to, which is why I mark it up in this way, to just draw you to the things that I was guided towards, and also those that may be of relevance. So we've got some square energy, which is challenging energy within astrology, can represent challenges that we're facing in that respect. And also the trines and the sextiles, which are more harmonious aspects that I'll come on to, because there's quite a few of those. Okay, but let's start with the challenges and then we can round it off with the positives. Okay, so these red lines depict the squares, and I had to draw the lines over here because there wasn't enough room in the little middle circle going on there because of the trines. So what we have is we have a square that's going from Jupiter and Uranus in the 11th house of connections with others, down towards Venus and Juno in the first house. Okay, so that Venus energy is certainly coming out of the Venus retrograde, as I was mentioning about, right, okay, investments. Where am I spending my time, my energy, my money, my love? Where am I spending all of that? Where am I investing all of that? Am I investing it in people, places, situations that bring me joy, that give me that Venus energy within of love, makes me happy? And we've got Juno there. That's very much the asteroid energy, divine feminine energy relating to love. So am I investing my resources in areas of my life that make me happy? And we've had to take stock of that from, you know, when Venus was retrograde, and now she's direct, of course, and she's in Leo. That's very much that embodiment of the soul essence of love, you know, and expressing that as well, not being afraid of being seen to be that full embodiment of self. And the square is going across to Uranus and Jupiter within the 11th house, okay, of connections with others. So we've got it from the first house of self going across to connections with others. So change, Uranus, and hope, as well as expansion, Jupiter, within connections with others, may be challenging what we perceive our Venus energy to be when it relates to ourselves. So where we're investing, okay, we might have realized that perhaps things need to change within connections with others. And that can be challenging. That can be challenging to actually accept and to allow the evolution to happen in whatever way that needs to be. But Uranus and Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, I'm telling you now, this Mercury retrograde, it's been very Mercury retrograde-y the past 2 days for me. So apologies. And I'm sure many of you out there can resonate with this. It plays on communication. And I'm really, really having experiences of this time around. So apologies. Uranus is in Taurus, but what I meant to say was Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus is all about our worth and values, and it's very much about our resources. So it's tied into what the Venus retrograde was all about for us. Okay, so from the self point of view, we've gone within, we've understood where are we investing those resources. It's then allowing us to focus on the connections with others and where we can expand them, because perhaps, okay, the Venus energy has shown us, right, connecting with that person makes me so happy. I want to embrace that. It's in line with my worth and values. And I want to allow the change to happen and to expand that connection with that person. And that may be challenging for whatever reason. The same goes for any connections that we recognize maybe we've been investing in and they're no longer in alignment with us. So change needs to happen. Either boundaries need to be put in place, or, you know, something needs to evolve in order for that reciprocity to return, you know, to bring that back in alignment with our worth and values. Okay, so, you know, there might be a need to put boundaries up, or there might be a need to actually let boundaries down. And both of those can be challenging. But this is saying to me, looking at this, you know, our connections with others has been under the microscope when it comes to what we're investing. You know, are we investing our time with people that serve us? And, you know, it could be a person or a group of people. Are we investing in the right places with those people because it's connections with others? Do we want to connect more because they bring us joy? Or do we need to connect less because they don't bring us joy? You see what I mean? So that's where it can be challenging to accept all of that, because it means that we've either got to put boundaries up or we need to let our boundaries down. And that can bring vulnerability. And remember, we're in Virgo season. So do I feel in control of myself if I let my boundaries down? Because perhaps I was hurt before, but I really want to connect with that person because they fill me up with so much joy. But what if I get hurt? What if this, that, and the other? You know, there's lots of factors that can actually prevent us from taking those steps moving forward. And again, that's why it's a square. There's challenging energy. But if we're aware of it, we can understand why we're feeling that way, and we can push through that energy, because there's so much other good stuff going on that I'll come on to in a minute. So the new moon is allowing us to really understand where boundaries with other people need to be in place or lowered, you know, when it comes to the Venus energy, when it comes to our worth and values. Okay, the other square that's going on is from Vesta, that's in the 12th house in Cancer, across to Pallas in the 3rd house. So Pallas, also a divine feminine energy asteroid. Okay, Pallas Athena, think of goddess Aphrodite energy. There's this feminine energy face-off here, because Vesta is, of course, feminine energy, also an asteroid, and is akin to goddess Brigid energy. So that's all about the sacred flame within. And Pallas, I feel that also relates to love and beauty. So this is a kind of challenging aspect where, you know, the sun and the moon are kind of heightening the Pallas energy. And in terms of our expression, in terms of our communication of that, that could be challenged, because of course Vesta is saying, right, and it could be hidden because it's 12th house, so this could be going on a subconscious level, and it's in Cancer, and Cancer is the home of the moon. So, you know, there is that kind of deep hidden aspect going on here with Vesta, that perhaps we know what lights that flame within, what we're passionate about, what we want to create, what sparks that flame within. And the challenge could be about expressing that. So it's feminine energy that could just be having a bit of a face-off because we want to nurture ourselves through this. But perhaps we're trying to understand, because of the Virgo energy also going on in the 3rd house, how this is going to contribute to our reality. And Pallas is in Libra. Even though we've got Virgo there, we've also got a bit of Libra. And this is, again, why I say about our charts are so unique, because the 3rd house has 2 signs in it. And if you look at the 1st and 2nd house on this particular chart, we've got Leo and a little bit of Virgo. So it's the same, you know. So this is how it's unique to us as individuals when we look at our chart against the transits. But certainly that energy of reciprocity and fairness that Pallas wants to bring, you know, when it comes from a place of love and beauty and expression of that, we need to understand the hidden motivations going on with what lights that flame within, because that's what Vesta is trying to get us to do. But it is hidden, and it is there conjunct the Mars of the UK. So the masculine energy is heightening the masculine drive, but it's feminine energy. So perhaps, you know, it makes me feel like saying the masculine energy within all of us could be a bit stuck in our ways. So the way we do things, the way we take action, because that's the masculine energy, needs to be nurtured a bit by the feminine energy. So that can also be creating a bit of a challenge between the two. We want to bring in that fairness and reciprocity. And we want our communication to be received in a fair way and a reciprocal way. So there could just be a challenge, because perhaps trying to understand what it is deep within us that lights that flame, Vesta, and then expressing that could be challenging, because how's that going to be received? Is it going to be received fairly? Is it going to be received well? So that can also be a challenging energy. Okay, let's move on to the good stuff. So the sextiles, which are also positive aspects, we've got Venus and Juno in sextile to Mars. So that's beautiful energy. So Venus and Juno in the first, the house of the self for this particular chart overlay, and Mars in the fourth house. So that's about foundations. Can also relate to family as well. And Mars is in Libra. So the masculine energy within us does want fairness and balance. So within our foundations, of course, we want fairness and balance. We're trying to establish new, stable foundations, because perhaps we've recognized with the South Node there as well, where foundations haven't been stable or they've been illusionary. Okay, there could have been karmic situations coming up to reinforce that message. So the masculine energy within us wants things to be fair, perhaps wants to take action when it comes to laying a stable foundation in our lives. And that energy can work in harmony with the Venus energy. Venus and Juno in the first. So when it comes to the self, this is all about ourselves. So the fourth house is foundations. That's all about our foundations. But we need to understand that the Venus energy and Juno being there as well, there is this essence of unconditional love. Okay. And unconditional love for the self, first and foremost, because we need to recognize, yes, where we've understood where we might be investing or over investing, that's also going to have an impact on the foundations that we're laying going forward. Certainly with this new moon, the manifestations, where are we trying to build these foundations now? We want it to be fair. We want to take action on things that are fair and balanced. Mars in Libra, fourth house. And we also want to acknowledge what's going on within ourselves as part of this healing journey. And we want to embrace the Venus energy by doing what we want to do. And that's enabling us to lay those foundations. Because when we follow our heart with that Venus energy, we're showing ourselves that unconditional love for what we want to do and who we want to connect with. We are laying those foundations for balance, fairness, divine justice. The other sextile is actually Lilith, also in Leo at 29 degrees, which is the final degrees that a planet or a planetary body can be in a sign before it moves to the next one. And it can be the harsh point because it's right at the final degrees before it moves on. So it's kind of like, you know, the last salute whilst they're in the sign before they move into that kind of fresh energy of a new sign. So it can be quite harsh, can be challenging, but there is a sextile here between Lilith and the South Node in Ceres. Okay, so, and that's in the fourth, again, in the foundations. Lilith is in the second house of worth and values. So actually any anxieties, fears or shadows that are coming up from Lilith, because this is the dark feminine energy, and we've got to embrace light and shadow in everything. This is life, this is reality. And Lilith is a great teacher because, of course, she will bring these things up to the surface so that we can understand why certain fears are coming up, so we can break the pattern. And that's part of our healing journey. So Lilith is working in harmony with the South Node. Okay, Ceres is there as well, of course. But this is in terms of karmic situations, past life situations. There's a lot of healing going on in relation to this at the moment. So anything that could be coming up that's perhaps triggering wounds from either this lifetime or past lifetimes is being understood. So it can then be transmuted and foundations can be built accordingly. Because again, it's helping to cleanse that karma to lay a new foundation to move forward in the direction of what we want. So we're trying to move towards the north node, our purpose, away from the south node, which are kind of like the karmic ties and bonds, but it represents, you know, where we've come from, because it can relate to past lives in that way. But it can also bring an essence of illusion and karmic stuff that's been coming up, and full moons have been certainly illuminating a lot of that recently. So we've had a lot on our plate to deal with. But this energy can work in harmony together because it relates to worth and values. So Lilith might just be challenging us sometimes to say, okay, do you really feel worthy of that? What are your values? Does it align with this? Does it align with that person? Are you sure about that? But it's helping us because we're understanding, oh yeah, actually, no, you're right, Lilith, that's not in alignment with me anymore. And it's part of what I need to transmute, you know, or perhaps, yes, I've given too much of my time to that area, to that person. And now I need to, you know, apply boundaries accordingly. So we're learning lessons as well. Let's not forget, we're also ticking the box when it comes to Saturn, because with all of this going on, we're also getting more in alignment with our spiritual truth. So we're also supporting the Saturn energy and the Pluto energy and the Uranus energy for lessons, transformation, and change. So really positive, in my view, all of this coming up, even though it can feel challenging, it can feel intense. And certainly going through retrogrades can make you feel like the energy is slow. So we've got this new moon and we've got the sun heightening the energy as well. Virgo, let's clean things up. And you might be thinking, oh my God, I have been trying to clean things up for so long. Why am I still having to do this? It's because this is deep transformation. Pluto's in Capricorn. So he's in Saturn's house, really cleaning house when it comes to our structures and rules, regimented approaches that maybe haven't been working for us. And for the UK, he's in the 6th house. So where are we being of service to others and to ourselves? And where do our daily routines and schedules need to change in order to allow our own well-being to be better? Because perhaps we've been aligned with something that isn't in alignment with us anymore. And that's where the detachment comes in. And the Pluto energy is deep, it's scorpionic. So it's intense. That's the nature of it. That was a bit of an aside. But let's move on to the greens. Let's move on to the trines. Okay, so with the sun and the moon there in the 3rd house that I was mentioning, we've got a beautiful trine going across to Pluto, and Pluto is also trine Uranus and Jupiter. So we've got the 3rd house, the 6th house, and the 11th house in play. This is all to do with how we are communicating what we want for our reality when it comes to connections with other people that are either in accordance with our worth and values or not, how that energy can be expanded, so how we can expand those connections we need to, okay, but it's also allowing for that inner growth as well. But let's not forget, Jupiter is in the 11th house. This is connections with others as well. And how this might impact our daily routines, but also how we are of service to these people. So it's expression of this. When it comes to the deep transformation that's needed, this relates, in this case, this is the harmonious aspect going on with the sun and the moon. So how the soul essence and our feelings can influence in a harmonious way what needs to transform and what needs to change and what needs to expand when it comes to connections with other people, how we are of service, and our daily routines and schedules. This is all part of the Virgo energy of cleaning things up. The other trine we've got is Saturn over here in the 8th house to the south node, and Ceres down here in the 4th house, across to Vesta in the 12th. So again, that sacred flame energy of Vesta, what sparks that flame within? What do we want to do? What are we passionate about? Or who are we passionate about? It's accepting those hidden feelings of what that's showing us and how that's empowering us to then build a foundation that is what we want for our reality. So again, 12th house, hidden stuff, that's where the sacred flame energy is within us. It's within us anyway, but this is deep rooted stuff. We've got to accept what lights that flame within. What do we want to do? that keeps us motivated, that sparks the flame that we want to take action on, because that is empowering us when it comes to our soul's truth. Saturn in the 8th house in Pisces. And that's also further enabling us to build those foundations that are more in alignment with our soul's truth, because we've got that going on in the 4th house. And as a result, cleansing the karma of the South Node and allowing that feminine energy of Ceres to not only expand that to some degree, but also to nurture us through that change that's needed. So very powerful energy in terms of manifesting our reality. Now, before I remove the chart from the screen and I take some cards here, I wanted to point out that just less than 19 hours after this new moon, Mercury will be stationing direct, thank goodness. Now, admittedly, we do still have a post-shadow phase for a couple of weeks. So the energy can still be a bit funky, but Mercury will be out of the retrograde and things should start to flow a bit easier in that respect. So this is still the moment up until that time to, of course, have that truth talk with ourselves, to still introspect, because it's the retrograde, on where we need to communicate with ourselves and other people in accordance with the energy that I've referred to in this overview. But interestingly, you know, I was mentioning about this 2121. Okay, so that would reduce, if you're looking at that as an angel number, for example, you've got 2121 that's very powerful anyway. But then you reduce 21 to 3, and you've got that twice, 3-3, manifestation. This is new moon. So that's a perfect angel number for manifesting the reality that we want. But not only that, Mercury, this is for the UK, of course, because it's the time zone that I'm talking about. When Mercury goes direct, it will be 2122. So I found that extremely interesting because the last minute of Mercury being retrograde will be 2121. If that's not a divine synchronicity, then, well, don't know what to tell you, folks. So this is very much about us getting our house in order and having that truth talk with ourselves so that we can enable this foundation that we want to build, this manifestation of our reality that we want to create for ourselves, with powerful angel numbers that can actually support the energy of our manifestation, but also recognizing that Mercury going direct, you know, that final moment, as I said, of Mercury being retrograde for the UK, okay, because it's the time zone I'm talking about here. This is about, you know, his final moment of retrograde works out to be the same degrees that the new moon and the sun are going to be at the time of the new moon. Powerful, okay? And this is happening for the UK in the 3rd house, the house of expression. This is all about Mercury energy. So very, very powerful. And we need to recognize we can use that energy to work with us, you know, aside from the challenges, stop sharing, aside from the challenges that we might face that I refer to, when we're aware of these challenges, it can actually help us because we're growing throughout the whole experience. It's growth, it's evolution. If you ask yourself honestly, am I the same person as I was 6 months ago? I'm sure the answer is going to be no, because you've been through such a lot. If you're on this spiritual healing journey of transformation, you've been through such a lot already. And yes, it can feel arduous at times. Retrograde season can feel slow and clunky because the energy is encouraging us to go within, and that can be uncomfortable, but we need time to do it. So patience gets bandied around a lot because we're needing to have patience with ourselves, with what we're trying to manifest. And we can only do that when we allow for that clarity to come in, and that can take time. So we need to be fair with ourselves as well. But we can really utilize this energy of the new moon to work for us in a very harmonious way, as I've mentioned. Okay, I'm going to pull some cards. I've got a variety of decks here, including 3 moon decks, because I feel that's appropriate for the new moon coming up. But also just to let you know that along with my other special offers that I am providing, okay, as September offerings, including 30% off my natal chart readings, I'm also going to be opening up bookings for moon scopes, which is Goddess of Neptune, personalized horoscope for the new moon. Okay, I do them for the new moon or the full moon. Of course, we've got the new moon coming up. So it's for a personalized horoscope, or a moon scope, as I like to call them, including a mini 3-card reading, whether that is 3 tarot cards with supporting oracles or 3 moon cards with supporting tarot. So that can be personal choice. If you're interested, reach out to me. I'll put details in the description box, okay? But I won't labor on that point. If it resonates for you, then great. It's a way of actually understanding your chart for this particular new moon. And as I said, there is powerful manifestation energy all over this in terms of our reality. So check it out if it resonates for you, okay, in the description box below. But let's draw some cards, okay? So first of all, I'm going to see what the Star Codes Astro has for the collective. Okay, let's see what the Star Codes Astro has for the collective. Okay, the collective. Oh, okay. So I had 3. Isn't that funny that I said 3? Power number for manifestation. On the bottom, retrograde in reverse. Okay. Wow. They all flipped over. So we have got, oh, this is amazing. Right. Okay. We've got Mercury. We've got resources, which is the 2nd house, and we've got the North Node. And of course, that says on the bottom, future. And I mentioned about the North Node in terms of what we're trying to aim towards. That's our purpose. That's our guiding light. We want to aim towards the North Node. But this is where the 2nd house comes into it, because that is the house of resources that I was referring to, further to the Venus energy. Where are we investing that? What needs to change? And let's communicate fairly with ourselves, Mercury. And I've just been talking about Mercury, and especially Mercury coming direct less than 19 hours after the new moon, with those amazing degrees and time synchronicities. Okay. Right, let's see what the Moonology Oracle deck has. This is the original Moonology deck. What does the collective need to know? Okay. Believe in the impossible on the bottom. Okay, you might not be feeling like you want to believe in the impossible because perhaps you're doubting things. And that's where the Lilith energy might be coming into play. But we've got prosperity lies ahead. That's new moon energy. Admittedly, it says new moon in Taurus, but remember, Taurus is about worth and values. Prosperity lies ahead. This one says take time to breathe out. So yes, certainly during the retrograde period, when we're having to go within, it can feel intense. And it makes me think of that kind of, what have I got to focus on? You know, getting a bit stressed and anxious about it. So take time to breathe out, meditate, be present, enable for that clarity to come in, to be received. Queen of the Moon. Remember, your intuition is never going to lie to you. It's whether we listen to it or not, or whether the ego mind gets in the way. That's a protective mechanism, you see. But we need to feel into the situation sometimes. We need to understand. We need to lead with our hearts. So take time to breathe out, meditation, sound healing, anything that kind of allows you to relax. It's going to enable your energetic body to actually then be present. And that is what enables the divine to bring the information to you. Okay, if you're open to receive it. Queen of the Moon. Self-love in reverse, yes. So this is all about, you know, that Venus energy in the 1st house for the UK, but self-love's an important message all on its own anyway. It all starts with us, folks. It all starts with us. And there's another one here, expect the unexpected. That's in reverse. So that's what we had there, believe in the impossible. So there is some kind of unexpected fortune going on here, because we've got prosperity lies ahead. There's a need to believe in the impossible and the unexpected. So this is about, yeah, confidence is your key to success. Being confident in your manifestations, taking time to breathe out, to receive the clarity in, to understand what those manifestations may be, having the truth talk with oneself, and ultimately going in the direction of the North Node, purpose-driven. But focusing very much on the investments. Where are we investing time, energy, love, money, resources? Certainly with regards to other people, but generally, because that's a wider sort of message for everybody. But for the UK, we saw what was going on with the 11th house. So very much about connections with others. Boundaries, do they need to be in place? Do they need to be lowered? Because we need to allow that connection to blossom because it makes us happy, for instance. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of energy going on there. Right, Moonology manifestations deck. So I had the original deck there, but this is the manifestations deck. So I usually pull this one out when there's a new moon. So let's see what messages we might have for the new moon in Virgo. The truth talk with ourselves is important. We need to understand what's at the root, what we need to clean up, and what we want to manifest in our reality. So assess the situation kind of like flips out there. Exactly what we need to be doing through retrogrades. Okay, that one flew out. Now this one says go wild, and it's Leo energy. Okay, so I would take it from that this is all about embodying that true expression of the Leo energy, of the courageous lion, and going after what you want, having fun, going wild, having fun. Okay. On the bottom, it's a reminder to be humble. So we don't want to go too over the top with this. It's a measured approach, of course, but we need to be humble when it comes to our successes and our achievements, but ultimately make sure that we are certainly embracing the fun moments, the moments that bring us joy, the people that bring us joy, what gives us that full embodiment of expression of self, you know. And actually there's a card, I might just find it in a second, from one of my tarot decks, and it's the Sun card, which is Leo energy, and it's beautifully depicted in this deck because it's an absolute embodiment of joy and abundance just from the artwork in the card. So this is about being the lion, okay, not in a crazy way of going wild, but this is about being courageous to follow what it is that you want to go towards in your life, and having the courage to do so, and to be seen in that way by yourself and by others. Okay, so it could be a step out of the comfort zone. It's all part of this journey. So let me just find the Sun card. So sorry, I'm being a typical Pisces now by going from one thing to the other, but I was just very drawn to showing you. So it's a Lightsis tarot deck, and this is probably my favorite tarot deck because it's so beautiful. And as an intuitive reader, as other readers might find, you get drawn or guided to use certain decks for readings because they can provide certain messages. You know, spirit guides you to these messages because the person receiving the message needs to hear it. So here we go. Oh, and that's so interesting of what's underneath it. I was meant to find it, so I feel I was guided to it for a reason. Look at that. So this is somebody who is just embodying that full energy of joy, love, abundance, and expression of self. It's got solar plexus vibes as well because of the yellow, bit of orange, sacral energy. So again, what sparks that flame within, that passion, what lights you up, and you know, solar plexus, personal power. I am who I am, and I want to be seen for who I am because this is me, and I love this. I embody all this joy and love. It's just beautiful. It's the happiest card of the deck. So we need to embrace that happiness energy. And remember, Venus is in Leo. So we need to understand that this all relates back to where we're investing our resources, in what makes us happy, in what makes us feel like this. Okay. But underneath that, we have Ace of Cups. So that's an offering or a new beginning when it comes to love. It can also represent self-love. And we see that she's got that bowl that's kind of over the heart space there. So it's very much about love. That's the energy coming through. And underneath that, devil in reverse. So this is about breaking those toxic attachments. And it's in reverse, so that's good. Because when we can do that, we're showing love to ourselves and we can embody more of who we are. And that Venus energy of, you know, I love doing this and I can be myself doing it. As the van or the truck, yeah, and you can probably hear the dog running after it now. So there we go. That was definitely meant to be said. Now I've got the universal weight deck. I was just going to take a few cards. That's just additional messages for you though from the Light Seers Tarot, because that card is just so beautiful, so beautiful. And we want to feel like that. We want to feel happy. We want to feel joyous in what we do. We want to enjoy life. We want to live life. So that's what we need to focus on in our manifestations, you know, that energy. What's going to bring us that energy? And we might have to, you know, step out of a comfort zone to do it. We might have to detach from something that's not serving us. And we might have to lower our boundaries or put boundaries in place when it comes to connections with others. But is it going to be worth it in the end? Let's show ourselves that love. Yeah, look at that. That's the 9 of Wands. I'm sure it's the 9. Yes, the 9 of Wands in reverse and Temperance in reverse. That's major arcana energy there. So, you know, that's about letting the barriers down, letting the guard down there and allowing things to flow. Okay, let's see if we've got anything else. Yeah, the Empress. This is about manifestation. It's card number 3 as well. There we go. Another sign of the 3. And this is Venus energy also. So this is a reminder about being the Empress, regardless of gender. This is about someone who knows their worth and who manifests, who creates the reality that they desire. So very on point. Thank you, Spirit, for these synchronicities. Very on point with what I'm saying about the new moon. We want to manifest the reality we desire. We want to feel in control. Empress feels in control. She doesn't doubt herself. She has the confidence to do it. And she embraces the Venus energy. So understanding what she's investing in is allowing her to create what she wants. Very powerful. Okay. So there we are. There we are. Just some extra messages for you. But if you're interested in a personalized horoscope for the new moon, which I call a moon scope, along with a bonus 3-card mini reading. So either utilizing the moon cards that I've just shown you with supporting tarot, or tarot cards with supporting moonology oracles, whatever you're drawn to, then reach out to me. Okay, check it out. It's September offerings. Okay, and it could be for the new moon. We've also got a full moon at the end of the month. So if you're more drawn to that, absolutely fine, because it's a moon scope for new moon or full moon. But you might just be resonating more with the new moon because that's coming up, you know, very soon, and it's all about manifestations. So that's going to show you in your chart where the moon and the sun are going to be at 21 degrees, that is, and you know, what house that's in and how that impacts on the other energy that I've mentioned in terms of your own journey and what you can manifest for your reality. So as I say, check out the description box below if it resonates for you. And until the next report, I'm sending you love and blessings, okay, for this new moon in Virgo that's upcoming. And remember to have the truth talk with yourself about what it is that you do actually want to manifest for your reality based on where you've recognized you're investing your resources, okay? And don't forget, that's time, energy. It's not just money. This is about where we're investing our time, our heart, our emotions, our love. So, you know, it's recognizing all of that because all of that is valuable. Our energy is valuable. And we want to be investing in places and in people that are going to bring us that sun energy that I just showed you, that, you know, that full expression of joy. So, yeah, I'll leave it there, and I will see you on the next report. Take care, everybody. Happy new moon blessings.